Now that we've won the division ever, we're always a wild card team. All right.
Let's go.
It always cuts it off.
Let's go.
Always cuts it off. I think you cut that off too. Welcome into Sports Around the Bar, your favorite sports talk show, I'm sure. As always, I am Jake, your bartender, and if you're just listening to this now, it cut that off too. And this is Drew here on Center Stool. We got a lot of action to talk about today. Some wild football games. We said it was going to be a good week. We weren't disappointed. There was a lot of good action across the NFL. Were you excited about any of these games outside of, obviously, the one that you're not going to shut up about? But was there any other game? Right, let's ignore the elephant in the room. Was there another game this week that you're excited about?
Did you see the Titans put up 42 against the Raiders?
Very exciting. Very exciting.
It's just the Raiders, though. I mean,
how many points did the Chiefs put up against the Raiders?
It's the Raiders, dude.
How many points did the Titans put up against the Chiefs?
How many points did the Chiefs give up to the Raiders?
Not many.
Yeah, that's
not many.
right. How many did you give up?
How many cornerbacks are you guys missing?
A lot.
0.
Because we don't have any.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's fair. All right, guys, welcome in. We got a lot to talk about. As always, I am Jacob Bartender. I already said that, but, just reintroducing myself. We got a lot to talk about, so I'm glad you're here. Let's get started and talk about this Panthers and Falcons game, because, man, who knew Atlanta had 40 points in them? Did you?
No, I had no idea, to be honest with you.
I mean, we both picked them to win, but did you expect them to have 40 points in them?
Not that many points. Jamar, yes, sir. That was a good win. A good win by Kansas City. Good win.
And Michael, don't tell me you weren't sweating out that 49ers game. I was sweating it for you too, buddy, because, man, I thought the 49ers were going to blow it when the Saints scored that last touchdown. What a game. Austin says the Titans and Chiefs wins. Congrats to us. Thank you, man. I hope your Seahawks get the win tonight too.
And then he says, Chiefs. That's what I'm talking about, buddy.
Kenneth also in with a big win for Kansas City. Absolutely good one for them. They now clinch the division. We talked about that. Good news for them. The Chiefs are going back to the playoffs. Nathan, good to see you, man. Sean, as always, good to see you. Same thing with you, Ian. He says Steelers, Kansas City, and Tennessee. Good wins for most of these fans around here today. Haven't seen the Dolphins fans come in yet. John, I haven't seen John Clark in here talking about how the Dolphins almost had that kind of escape win against the Jets and then blew it at the end. Jeremy, good to see you too. A couple more of these comments, and I promise we'll get into the action. Jamar, all in on his Chiefs. Cherie, all in on the Chiefs. Ray says, how about those Steelers and Coach Tomlin putting it all together? I agree, but things only get tougher for here from the Steelers. That's exactly what I'm going to talk about. I think they have the Bills and the Ravens still to go, so they've got some. Those are winnable games. I think when you play good defense, we kind of saw the Bills hang with the Ravens as well. They can win those games, but they're definitely not going to be the favorites. They got their work cut out for them.
Keep going, dude. I'm writing names.
Ian, Nathan, as I already said hi to you guys, but he says Atlanta was a fluke, and let's do that to get into this one. Is it a fluke when you win twice? I don't think you can't say it's a fluke when you do it twice, right? A fluke happens once,
right?
I've already got onto you on the definition of a fluke. I don't know if I call this a fluke either. I think Atlanta might just have Carolina's number, right?
But that's two different things.
It is. I was a joke.
Okay.
You're supposed to be amused by that, but I guess not.
I was not amused.
Bringing up old wounds, but here we go.
It is not healed yet.
Well, what about this game, Drew? Were you shocked by this result? I mean, they did beat them once. We picked the Falcons, so obviously we were in on them somehow. But
yeah.
40 to 20? I don't know, man.
I think you just saw the disarray that the Panthers are in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you honestly saw what it was. The firing of Ron Rivera, the team, in a sense, really didn't take it well. You saw the defense that's been struggling to even do worse than that. They allowed Freeman to look like he's been a legitimate
look like
back.
Freeman again.
Yeah, I mean, it's a struggle. And Cherie just says, fluke her ass. Supposed to be.
And going back to Kyle Allen, I think this is a little bit more the disappointing part of this game because he, again, threw 2 picks and only 1 touchdown. The 293 yards are pretty good, but Atlanta's defense has struggled. They've been a little bit better towards the back half of the season. They've kind of grouped back up now that playoffs are out of the question and they want to assert that they're a better team than they look for most of the year. But they're still not a good group. They're still not a great team. And to come out with this kind of performance, I'm telling you, man, we're going to get these Cam Newton questions creeping up on us if he keeps playing like this. I got to see a strong performance or two from Kyle Allen before I'm ready to just finally write Cam Newton off from the Carolina uniform.
You got to give him an offseason. You got to give him
well, I'm not saying cut him, but...
No, I'm just saying you got to give him an offseason, get a team around him, I mean, I know games help, but there's a huge thing about practice that makes a huge difference in the NFL. When you're a first team practice, during training camp, during everything, the OTAs, that's what creates camaraderie and makes teams better, makes people come around this quarterback. Not that they're not around Kyle Allen. It's just that helps.
Absolutely. And Will says everyone was a Chiefs fan today. Everyone's always against the Patriots. That doesn't change anything. But you are definitely right. And Jeremy says he's over this year with his Colts. Tough loss for them as well against Tampa Bay. We'll get into that action too. But first, let's just round out talking about this Panthers-Falcons game. And we'll hit a couple more of these comments too.
Yeah.
Again, I'm disappointed in the Panthers, but at this point, that's kind of what you get when you fire your coach.
Yeah.
You kind of get what you deserve. And right now, I don't want to say that the season's ruined because that happened, because I think the season was already ruined. I don't think they were going to the playoffs, especially with as strong as the rest of the NFC is. But it was just ill-timed. And I think you're going to kind of almost sacrifice Kyle Allen's career because you're going to go hire a new head coach, and he's going to say, why can't I go get my guy at quarterback instead of inheriting somebody? So, again, Panthers are disappointing. Maybe this is a win that saves Dan Quinn's job. 2 wins against a divisional rival.
Yeah, absolutely. Andrew says, way to drink Yingling. Yeah,
As always.
That is Jake's choice. I'm a PBR guy myself.
Absolutely. Couple more here. Michael says he's rooting for y'all. We appreciate that, man. Definitely. And also, Ian says, next 3 weeks are going to be fun. The next Bills at home for the Steelers. He says the Jets and the Ravens on the road. Here we go with the 5th seed for the Steelers. Again, big ask, but who knows? I've doubted him this far. Why? I'm not going to stop now. Maybe that's helping him.
Ray, good to see you. Kenneth goes, wow, Houston losing.
Not win. Just losing, getting annihilated by a team like Denver.
I did not call the Denver win, but I said if they're going to win, it was Drew Lock putting up touchdowns quickly against this team, which is exactly what happened.
And even when they were down like 14, I was like, 14 points. Houston's got a decent offense. Denver's defense is kind of up and down at times. And 21, I was like, ooh, looking a little more bleak for Houston. And then after that, I was like, wow, we're done here. That's it. Write them off. Crazy game. I can't believe this is the second time that I don't want to say it makes the Ravens game look like a fluke or confirms that they're this bad of a team, but I don't know. I look at this game, Drew, and I didn't see this out of Denver. There's no way. I was like, I didn't think they had 40 points in the team.
I didn't either. Ray says nail biters with the Ravens and Bills in the Jets game, but they all have with us not having an offense and mostly just defense. I mean, you say there's not an offense with the Ravens, but you see them put up points against really tough defense. Let's not ignore this Bills team.
24 points against the Bills is pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're right. The Jets, all they have is a defense, but they're missing some of their best players. Adams didn't play.
Mosley.
Yeah.
IR. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, again, I wouldn't necessarily call it a rollover kind of performance for them either. Ryan says, congrats to me on my Titans. He says the Raiders had too many key injuries in this game, for the whole season. No excuses. The core of the Raiders will be the problem in the near future. I like what they're doing. They're building okay. Again, injuries are on both sides. I mean, Derrick Henry had a hamstring injury and just powered his way through it. A lot of the Titans receivers were shaken up during the week. They played without 3 of their top 4 corners. Right. So I understand the no excuse thing that you were saying. Right. Both of these teams came in banged up, and to the Raiders' credit, they played a great half of football. They just didn't have 2 halves in them this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Nathan says, let me ask you this, Drew. Do you think Kansas City can do this well on the defense in the playoffs? Because Kansas City will see them again. No, I don't like any time you face an undivision rival twice in a season. To beat a team twice in a year is one of the toughest things to do in the NFL. The only team I want to see in the playoffs for sure is the Titans.
I think that'd be hilarious. Obviously, one of us would be upset after that game.
We would.
It would be tough to do that show after. But you know what? If that means both of them make it, I'd like to see it too.
Right.
Terry says the Niners and Saints game was game of the year. I agree, man. Offense from the beginning. I was like 28-21.
Last year's Rams and Chiefs game.
Exactly. Yeah. They were a couple points behind that, but man, what an absolute just barn burner of a game.
Great game.
Start to finish too. There was never a low point in that game. I was excited all the way through. It was great. Fantastic. We'll get to that in a minute, too. Let's move on to the Ravens and Bills, unless you want to hit a couple more comments.
No, there's a couple more here. Did you hit Will? Will says that the Tampa Bay version of VH3 showed up against Denver. He says, laugh his butt off. Jamar says, 4 straight division champions. I said that before the game, and you told me that's not that impressive.
The Raiders have been down. The Broncos have been down. The Chargers have been good like one time. Good job, guys. You got the job done. No, I'm kidding.
That was more of a shot at me.
Anytime your team wins the Division 4 times straight, that's huge. That means you guys are doing right things organizationally, regardless of anyone else's struggles. Now you just got to catch up to that Patriots streak they're on.
Right.
What is it, 38 in a row? 40? I've lost count. It's too high to count. Let's go Ravens-Bills, because this game, another one that even though the Ravens pulled out early, kind of Buffalo definitely pulled it in tight, and we're down to that last drive. They couldn't quite get the job done. You had an interesting take on Josh Allen during the game. You're like, under pressure.
You know I've always been a Josh Allen fan. I've always supported the guy. I prefer to see a lot more out of his arm than what he does during games, but what I saw when pressure was around him, he was making very immature decisions with the ball. And, if it was tripping on his own player, which I get is not an always occurring thing, but you kind of see a veteran or someone who knows the game take a step back before he rolls to the right. Instead, he rolls right into his own player. Issues like that are going to be the downfall of the Bills later on in the playoffs when they make it. I got to give the props to the Bills. I don't want to sit there and take anything away from them. They played really well. They kept the Ravens in check. They got a turnover against Lamar. I mean, all these things that they did, they looked great. What let them down was their offense, 100%.
Yeah, I agree. You need a few more points, especially even though the Ravens' defense has played much better. Again, since trading for Marcus Peters, I've talked about that a few times. This is still a unit that you're going to have to put some points up on. And they did okay kind of clawing their way back into the game, but the way they let the Ravens get out in front of them, it's almost insurmountable at that point. This is too good of a team, and a team built to kind of defend a lead for you to fall behind to, especially when your offense is built like the Bills. They needed to start faster in this game. If they would have done that, maybe we're talking about a different result. I think, again, the Bills, even though they lost this game, have earned a little bit of respect from me. I still think they're probably one of the easier teams that you want to face in the playoffs, but they're by no means an easy out.
Yeah. Eric, what's going on, man? He says his pack is weak, though.
Is it that, or is it maybe they took it a little bit easy because it's the Redskins, and they have 3 games, and now the Redskins are playing better?
They're playing a lot better.
Yeah.
They're not relying on Haskins to make things happen. They're running the rock.
My first beer, sorry.
You have a hole in the lower part of your lip. Brian, good to see you, says, how about them 49ers?
How about them, dude? What a game. What an absolute amazing game. I'm not going to lie, I thought it was over. When the Saints scored late, I was like, we're done here. That's it.
Yeah. I thought I picked the Saints to win, but supposedly I didn't. You wrote down I picked the Niners, so
I was doing it while we were talking.
I must know what I was talking about, right?
The
whole entire game, right. I'm like, the Saints better win this, right?
Definitely. Couple more comments, and then we'll move on to the next game. Will says he's not going to lie. He thought the Bills were going to pull off the upset. But to be fair, you picked just about every upset this week, so I'm just kidding. There was a point in time where they had that last second drive. I was like, do they punch it in here? Do they tie up the game 24-all? But just not quite enough offensive firepower. I also think, again, a lot of the fault comes down on Josh Allen. He's a guy that when he's under pressure does not respond as well as he could to it. He's very good at avoiding it. He's very good at using his legs to generate things, to make things happen. But especially throwing the ball under pressure, he doesn't look sharp at all. And I've never been a fan of the way he throws the ball, but still.
I saw a lot of that this game. Ken says he needs to pay off his tickets. I'm assuming that's his speeding tickets, and that's to buy playoff tickets. Remember to purchase one for me, Dad.
Ian also said he's going to be the Steelers at number 5, and it's going to Kansas City, and the Bills going to Texas. Wow, I thought you just said my team was going to make it. Very, very harsh. That hurts, Ian. That hurts. It's okay, we'll move on. Damien says, how about them Bears? Big win from them, but it was on Thursday. So, again, we talked about them in our last episode if you want to go back and watch that. Good win for them. Is it too little too late in this NFC? Yes.
If they were in the offense,
if they were in the AFC, they'd probably still be alive.
Playing a lot better in offense, but kind of dug themselves a deep hole, and they're gonna have a hard time getting out of it.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the Bengals and Browns because we're contractually obligated to. Are the Browns done now with the Steelers winning? The Titans winning today?
They are still in it.
Technically alive, but in your book, are they done?
Well, I mean, they just beat the Bengals, one of the toughest teams in the NFL.
And they beat them close. It was never at any point like just out of hand where the Browns ran away with the game.
I don't want to say they're not in it, but I would say like less than 10%.
Yeah, it's not looking good for the Browns. I will say this about them, though. At the very least, they pulled out the win because there was a point in time I was like, Andy Dalton's about to get win number 2 in a row. He's about to go earn that next contract. Instead, the Browns kind of hung around in this game and managed to pull out the late win. Again, not impressed on Baker Mayfield. Not impressed with his comments after the game. I've been very critical of this all year long. After the game, he comes out and says he didn't like the way the Odell Beckham injury was handled by the team. Say that internally. Do you need to go tell a reporter that? You could go to the medical staff or your GM or your coach and be like, hey, I don't think they did a good job with Odell Beckham's injury. You don't need to go to a reporter and cry to him about it. Oh, Browns.
They need a new
It's
coach.
tough. I need to stop talking about them. Every time my blood pressure goes through the roof.
Wilson, playoffs. Are you kidding me? Playoffs? Yes, Kansas City is in the playoffs.
You got to read it with a voice, too. Playoffs?
Playoffs?
You talking about playoffs? I just want to win one game.
My voice is going out because I've been screaming at the TV. Michael says Browns are done. He's agreeing with us. Browns are done. Even though they're mathematically still in it, they're done. I agree with him completely.
Michael also says the Browns are done. I kind of agree with you.
I just said that.
Well, I'm saying it again. It was a great comment.
No, we're going to double it up.
I definitely agree with you. I think they're done, but you never know. They have still a decently easy schedule. Maybe they're the shock dark horse that when the Titans lose out to Houston twice and the Saints and the Steelers lose out to all their tough games, they come riding in to get knocked out in the first round by a playoff team, by an actual playoff team. A couple more of these comments here. Ian says, OBJ wants out. Next year, is he on Tennessee? We don't really like attitude problems. I mean...
Yeah, I don't really see that happening.
We kind of turned our note... Although they didn't want Antonio Brown, supposedly. That was a rumor. That they were in hot pursuit of him.
All 29 teams that didn't have him previously
were in contention for Antonio Brown. Yes. So, who knows? I don't think so for the Titans. I think they're good with whether they're at a receiver, but we'll see.
Sean says he's upset with the Bills. He says the coach is upset with the Ravens coach. Do the Bills have a reason to be upset? I don't mean to go back to this game, but Sean's in there commenting. We know he's a huge Bills fan here. Mm-hmm. Do the Bills have a reason to be upset with their outing against the Ravens?
You can look at it as like missed opportunities. You can say, man, I wish we would have played a little bit better offense in like the second and third quarter and not had to go into a fourth quarter drive, chasing the Ravens. I wish we would have played a little bit better defense earlier on. When they kind of jumped out, because they definitely got it under control after that. The Ravens kind of locked it down and got into that ball control offense, and the scoring kind of stopped. I don't know that you can be upset with them, but you can look at this game and say, we had a chance to beat a really good team, and we just couldn't quite do it because there was a couple key mistakes and a couple key moments that we just could not get to go our way to win this game.
Brian asked, can the Patriots lose the number 1 seed this season to the Ravens? They already have, man. They are down already. They're the number 2 seed, so they are no
and now
longer,
a game behind.
Yeah, they are no longer the number 1 seed.
They need the Ravens to lose 2 of the last 3 for the Patriots to get back out in front.
Austin says, does OBJ to Seattle? Does that he's excited, and he's also asking, could that happen?
It would fit. Pete Carroll does well with young players that have a lot of attitude. I mean, look at Richard Sherman when he was young there. That worked out pretty well. They had him on track. It kind of spoiled towards the end.
Mouth? There's a difference.
There definitely is, but I don't know. You can't say Richard Sherman doesn't do it. They both have the skill to back it up. Yeah. That's what I can say. And I wouldn't hate that fit. The question is, are you going to be willing to trade the Browns a lot of picks to bring in Odell Beckham? Because I think it's going to take a lot of picks to pry him out of their hands. And my answer to that is, when you see the way he's behaving, no. Right? It's kind of like Antonio Brown, where you're like, I don't want to go over-invest in this guy when there's a good chance he self-destructs on my team, too.
Good to see you, Frank. Good to see you as well, Sonny. He says he's happy for his Bucks. Sean says he's going to go for Kansas City Chiefs. The Bills do not make it to the Super Bowl. He says Kansas City is the team he's going to root for in the Super Bowl if they make it.
Harsh. I mean, they're going to have to get through the Titans. It's going to be tough. It's going to be real tough.
He completely ignored your team.
Yeah, I know. It's clear. Sean is on your side for a lot of things we pick, but that's okay, Sean. I still love you. Let's talk about the Redskins and the Packers.
Let's do it.
The Packers, little disappointing, but like we said, maybe they didn't have 1,000 reasons to get fired up for this game. It wasn't like the 49ers and the Saints, where we're like, these teams are both great, and they both have great defenses, so the offenses came ready to play.
Right.
Do you think Green Bay came in with the gloves down a little bit? Because that's kind of what it felt like to me. They got 14 points on the board, and they're like, ship it, boys, let's go home.
I don't think they came in with the gloves down, but I think they backed off the pedal when they got a lead.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say they came in with their gloves down, because I don't think anyone ignores the fact that, teams like Washington or Miami or the Bengals, for that matter, are coming into their stadium or going against them in the opposing stadium and go, well, this team's terrible, but they've got 2 wins. So big deal. Not a big deal. No, it is a big deal. This team is hot right now. I mean, regardless if you like it or not, the Redskins won 2 in a row prior to this. This team was hot. It's ready to win more games. And one thing you got to do is stop the run. And if it wasn't for Geis getting a knee injury, who knows what could have happened.
Right.
I'm not saying that the Packers would have lost, but maybe it was a closer game if guys wouldn't hurt.
Definitely. And the other important part to this is even though this game doesn't look important to you on paper, with the Saints losing today, you now stand a chance to get a first-round bye because Seattle, as good as they've been, the 49ers, as good as they've been, they're in the same division. They both can't get those first-round byes. Only one of the teams can.
Yeah.
You're now in a foot race with the Saints, and your record is tied. So this game, even though on paper doesn't look incredibly, we don't need to have our guard up for the Redskins, winning here is incredibly important. I would like to see more out of the Packers, but a win's a win. They all count the same in the NFL, and we're not going to be talking about this 2 weeks from now.
Right.
We're going to forget about how the Redskins almost hung with a team like the Packers.
Absolutely.
Did Bill Callahan save a job? Are you feeling any better about that? Let's say I'm gonna ask you, put your Dan Schneider hat on.
Yeah.
So shove your head right up your. Never mind.
It's there.
Are you considering it?
No.
Still no.
Because if I'm Dan Schneider, I'm looking for the big splash name.
Yes.
Because that's who he is.
But if you miss that,
no.
Still no. You're gonna go with anyone else.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I'm in the same boat too. But
I just don't. Let's just say for an example, the roles were reversed and he's in Carolina and he's won a couple of games in Carolina and they were losing. Does the ownership of Carolina give Bill Callahan a chance? Maybe.
Yeah.
But being
not
Dan Schneider, no.
I need some splash. I need some pizzazz.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm with you. We'll move on. Let's talk about the Lions and the Vikings game because this one was, even though the score wound up somewhat close. I mean, it was 20-7. Sounds like a close game. This was all Vikings. I mean, they got up 17-0 real early. Just kind of nothing going on offensively.
The score was close, but there was nothing else close about this game.
Exactly. I mean, this was all Vikings from start to finish.
Scarborough got hurt.
Blau.
Yeah.
Apologies last time for calling him Blow. Blau, the quarterback for the Lions, I think is, even though they're this deep into it, again, after the flashy play he had on Thanksgiving, we can kind of look at it and say, maybe we don't expect a whole lot out of our third string quarterback, right?
Brian says, Ron Rivera to the Redskins. Maybe.
I think you got to go offensive. You have to get a guy that with a young quarterback. I understand
I'll give you this before you answer that completely. We all know what their strength is. Their strength is in that defensive lineup. On paper, they have a lot of talent. What if Ron Rivera would come in there and make this one of the best defenses in the league? And
they like to run the ball. I mean, that's right up his alley. But again, you just spent a high first-round pick on a quarterback. I think you need to go with the offensive guy to see if he is the guy or not.
I'm just throwing another name out there because he hasn't lost his job yet. But what if they bring in like Freddie Kitchens to be the offensive coordinator?
Oh, I mean, I'm going Ron Rivera before I'm going Freddie Kitchens.
Freddie Kitchens coordinator.
Oh, okay. As an offensive coordinator, I wouldn't hate it. But then again, do you believe in Freddie Kitchens to really train somebody up? I would almost take a chance on someone like a Kingsbury from last year as my head coach and pull him in from college. Like, go find
the issue with Freddie Kitchens is he cannot run an organization.
Right.
Ron Rivera has no answer. No, he didn't need to answer that. You know he can run.
Right.
An organization. So if you're bringing someone in like him who can run everything, you just need an offensive play caller. You saw Freddie Kitchens take the Browns last year and turn them into a winning team offensively. So you bring in Ron Rivera to fix the defense, make that their strength, and you bring in someone like Freddie Kitchens, who is an offensive-minded coach. Maybe you could see something like that happen.
I wouldn't hate it, but again, I think offense is the way to go. You got to go get that offensive mind. You got to go get your Sean McVay that you think is going to be able to coach up your quarterback because you need to put the most advantageous situation around someone like Dwayne Haskins right now. You have got to find a way to figure out if he's the guy or not, because if he's not, odds are you're going to be in a position to draft a quarterback sooner rather than later. It could be even as early as this year. I don't want to see them throw him out and say, oh, we're going to Josh Rosen this kid and ship him off for like a second-round pick to somebody.
Right.
But there's a good chance that happens. There's a very real chance they're going to have a top 5 pick here.
Michael says, don't forget, they still have Alex Smith. Does Alex Smith make a splash next year?
It's tough. I mean, they had to cut a section of his leg out due to infection. I just don't know that you can count on Alex Smith coming back and resuming his level of play that you got when he was with the Chiefs. And I think you look at the Chiefs and you can say maybe they just had a really, really, really good offense and Alex Smith had some success with them. Again, bridge quarterback at this point. He's 35, 36 years old.
I get it.
He's not the future.
Yeah, I hear you. Chuck, still trying to stick with Ron Rivera. He says Ron Rivera, defensive coordinator for the Ravens.
Again, I don't think anyone signing Ron Rivera as a defensive quarterback is a bad idea, but he's more of a 4-3 guy, and the Ravens have always been more of a hybrid, kind of more 34-leaning defense.
I think that's a splash of two different schemes, in a sense. Ron Rivera, John Harbaugh, I just don't really see it going well.
Yeah, and again, Frank says he'd like to see him be the defensive coordinator in Chicago, but a lot of times when that happens, you need to change your personnel to fit what type of defense your coordinator is going to run. Not many guys can take the players on a team and alter their system and still be effective. Usually, it's I'm Dick LeBeau, and this is what we do, and this is why we succeed. Or you take your pick, Ron Rivera, and we run the 43. Or I'm Jim Schwartz, and we run basically Tampa 2. Usually, they have an idea in their head on what works, and then they're going to try to acquire players to fix that. I don't think Ron Rivera is going to come in and switch these 34 level teams, or 34 base defense teams that we're talking about, and overnight shift them over to a 43. I think you need to stick with the type of coach for the defense you already have.
Two comments really quick. Austin says Alex Smith probably shouldn't play again. That injury really messed him up. And
then again, let me just real quick, I'll respond to that. Then again, if this is all you've done for your life forever, I have no problem with him coming back, even if he's putting his health on the line. We've talked about this before. If this is what you choose to do, and he says he wants to give it another shot, why not give him the swing of the bat?
If he's healthy, he'll play. Brian says, do we think that Dallas parts ways with Jason Garrett? I was going to give you a 2-question, 2-answer part, but go ahead.
Sorry, do we think Dallas parts ways with Jason Garrett? They should. They absolutely should. It's time to move on from Jason Garrett. Will they do it? They will not, because Jerry Jones, he's kind of like a yes man. He's going to do anything Jerry Jones wants him to do, and he's going to do it with a smile. So I think Jerry Jones is going to keep him around. He's going to say it's not his fault. But yes, they should 100%. I think Kellen Moore's probably lost his job after that hot start the Cowboys had on offense. They definitely fizzled, especially against the good teams. I think you're more likely to see a replacement at offensive coordinator than you are to see Jason Garrett out on his behind this offseason.
My answer is that we don't know yet. We're going to see if he makes the playoffs, if he can win a playoff game. We don't really know. Let's move on to the game of the year, possibly. The 49ers go on the road against the New Orleans Saints. Man, what a game. What a shootout.
Did I tell you this was going to be the game of the week? Did I tell you it was going to be the game of the week?
You were so, if you had 9 personalities, you showed all those personalities during that game.
Mm-hmm.
The first was, man, I picked the Niners to win. I thought they had a defense. What is this? And you're like, Jimmy G's a stud.
And I was also like, defense is canceled. We're not playing it anymore.
They're like, look at their defense. Look how good they are.
It was definitely a symphony of emotion for me.
You had every personality pop out during this game. And, the confusion part of me was I thought I was rooting for the Saints because I thought I picked them. Well, I guess I did not.
I guess we'll see. We'll go back to the tape. We'll review the tape and see what happens with that. Also, Will says that was a Madden game. I absolutely agree, man.
Yeah, he's right.
Oh, wild. And again, I thought it was done. What did they have, 39 seconds, 49 seconds when Drew Brees scored?
Drew Brees scored 6 touchdowns.
And they got down to the 10-yard line. It wasn't like, we barely got into field goal range and it took Robbie Gould sinking like a crazy kick. No, they got down to the 10-yard line and then wasted 15 seconds and kicked a field goal.
Just so you guys are aware, the guy that I played in playoff fantasy football in my league, he benched.
He has not shut up about this all day. Terrible move.
Benched Drew Brees and Michael Thomas.
Ugh.
I get why he did
Is anyone having a worse Sunday right now?
But that guy's having it. He's still winning, by the way. As sad as that is, he's still winning. Because he played Phillip Rivers, who did really well.
Yes, Gardner Minshew's having a worse Sunday. Yeah. But is anyone besides that having a worse Sunday? Hard to say. What can be said that hasn't already been said about this game? It was fantastic. I think it shows you just how tough the Niners are to go on the road and get this win, even though it was a regular season. Then again, I'd love to see this again in the playoffs. This had NFC Championship written all over it.
Do you remember 6 weeks ago we were sitting there going, are the 49ers for real?
Yeah, well, we're like, they haven't played anybody. And then they played a lot of great teams, and we're like, oh, yeah, they're for real.
Oh, they're for real.
Yeah, I've seen it now. I've seen the light. They're good. And you know what the crazy part is? I don't know that these are great players. I look at this roster, and I'm like, nobody here really scares me. Maybe you could say Garoppolo's a good quarterback. Maybe you could say some of the offensive linemen are good. Like guys like Joe Staley, great tackle. I can't sing his praises enough. It's Kyle Shanahan, man.
Well, Michael's saying
makes the most out of nothing.
Michael's saying he knew that Jimmy G was going to lead a game-winning drive.
he just knew it. Look, even with that much time left and one timeout, I was like, oh, it looks bad. I really thought it was over. And like I said, they put it without doubt. They put it within like a 25-yard chip shot for Robbie Gould, like one of the league's best kickers. If not for Adam Vinatieri, he might be the best kicker in NFL history. Who knows?
Will says the Colts are having a worse Sunday. Steve, good to see you, says, let him hear it, Jake. Go ahead. Say how much the Bills suck.
I didn't say that. I said they played pretty well. I did say that I think this is a team that, again, you get to the playoffs and you're playing these caliber games. I think this is the way you lose to them. Short of like the Steelers. They can beat the Steelers when the Steelers make it or someone like that. But I think Buffalo played fine. I think they could have played a little bit better. I think they missed some opportunities early in the game, but for the most part, I think Buffalo played okay, Steve. This is a pretty good game when you're talking about the Ravens. You held them to 24 points. You put 17 up yourself. Buffalo did all right.
Frank says, is there any Christmas specials on merchandise? I'd like to know if there's a special on merchandise because I'm paying full price over here, buddy. No, there's not.
We'll see what we can do.
I would say no.
I'll talk to the accountants and we'll get back to you.
Okay, did you talk to them?
They said no. No, I'm just kidding. We'll take a look at it. Like I said, we are thinking about it.
Austin says Kittle and Sanders are good.
Kittle is great. Sanders is a good piece as well.
But do they?
But they were winning games before.
I don't want to take any hype away from these guys because I like Sanders. I said it was the better signing than Sanu when that training happened. So you can go back in the tape. You can see me say that.
We both did. We were all in on this move.
And
we love Emmanuel Sanders.
I don't want to speak for you. Yeah. I'm just talking about it. Kittle, yes, definitely one of the better tight ends in the league. But is it over... Not hyped. Is it overdone because Kyle Shanahan creates such a great offensive game for players like someone with talent like those two guys to flourish? Because you got to remember when Jimmy G went down last year, he was bringing in second and third string quarterbacks that look like they could be starter anywhere else in this league.
And let's not forget, Emmanuel Sanders looked good for Denver, right?
Yeah,
like he was a good player, and they were losing games.
Yeah.
And so it's not just Emmanuel Sanders' addition that makes this a great team. I think he's just done a great job of maximizing the talent they have on them. I mean, guys like Mostert coming in, Matt Breida, what he's been able to get out of him, Tevin Coleman looking like a great running back again for the short spurts that he's had while he's been healthy this year. Even a guy like Juszczyk. Juszczyk looks worth the money for a fullback in today's NFL because of what he's done. I think, again, Kyle Shanahan is one of the most underrated offensive minds, and I think that's a big part of it. That being said, the Saints still had one of those plays. It seems like they never escape it in a primetime game or a major game where they just get screwed. The pass interference on, I believe it was Michael Thomas, where he just got mauled by the corner the whole play, held the whole time, like literally choke slammed to the ground, and no flag comes in. How do you not feel cheated as a Saints fan? I talked about this when we were watching this game, Drew. I was like, how do you even watch as a Saints fan anymore?
Jacob says, I told you, Drew, that Kansas City would beat the Patriots. Yes, you did. I did not dismiss you. I just had my doubts. I appreciate you being strong for the rest of Kansas City Kingdom. Brian says, John Lynch put a great team together without scarring the league. Do you believe that?
No, I actually don't. I think a lot of what Kyle Shanahan has done has made up for some of the mistakes that someone like John Lynch has made. I'm still not wild about some of the additions he's made, like paying Quan Alexander a $50 million contract for a basically one-dimensional linebacker. Even though I think he's a good player, like a very good player, you don't want to give just a run-stopping linebacker that kind of money. I'm not wild about Jerick McKinnon getting all that money. And again, you can get by with it because nobody was being paid on this roster. And Kyle Shanahan's done a great job of it. I think, believe it or not, John Lynch is still holding this team back a little bit. He's not like the worst GM. It's not like Tampa Bay, where they're like paying guys who suck on their offensive line tons of money to stick around forever. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
But he's thrown money basically at every problem, and it's kind of like the throw enough crap against the wall and some of it'll stick. Again, I don't think John Lynch has done a great job, but that's okay, because you have an amazing coach. The best thing John Lynch has done is signing Kyle Shanahan as his coach, or getting Kyle Shanahan to agree to be the head coach for the 49ers.
Agreed. Let's go to the next game. The Miami Dolphins go on the road against
the other game of the week. I thought I stole one from you, Drew. Miami was behind for almost the whole game, and then they pulled ahead for like 2 seconds. Then the Jets drive down, and Sam Darnold manages to beat another bad team.
The kicker got a winning field goal. Don't know his name.
It doesn't matter. He might not be there next year. But I'll say this. The biggest takeaway I have from this game is it shows, again, the shine that a guy like Sam Darnold can have. Yeah. He can beat bad teams. If they can finally put an offense around him, maybe beating bad teams.
No Le'Veon Bell. No Jamal Adams. No C.J. Mosley. No real true offensive weapons. I mean, I guess Miami, but they've been playing well.
Tremaine Johnson's been out too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is it just furthers my point that if you put an offense around Sam Darnold, he can still be the best quarterback out of his draft class. He could surpass a guy like Baker Mayfield. He's just dealt with crap for his entire career. And does that fix? It's hard to say, man. I'm not betting on the Jets. I like Adam Gase, but then again, on the other hand, did he really bring in great weapons in Miami?
Next game, the Indianapolis Colts go on the road against the Tampa Bay Bucks. Will, we already know you're out there, man. Let us know how you feel about this game. Here's my issue. And this is not a hate. This is nothing against anything about the Bucks not being a good team. What this is about is Jameis Winston creates
How did I know?
so much controversy with this organization from moving on. I get it. He put up 4 touchdowns. I get it. He threw for almost 500 yards. I get it. He wins games. But when it matters the most, turnovers are what kill you. And that's all he does. Would he have 4 turnovers in this game? It's
3. Well, did he fumble too? He might have fumbled too.
It's ridiculous. Maybe he did.
No fumble. Just,
Okay, so
just 3 picks.
Just 3 picks. Thank God he didn't go into an even.
The fumble might have broke him.
I mean, this is an issue. He's talented. He has great receivers. He did a lot of that without Mike Evans, which is another great stat for him.
Yes.
But those 3 picks against a better team are gonna put him down in the dirt.
Yes.
That's an issue.
I 100% agree. One thing I will say about this, Colts fans, Jacoby Brissett, you're facing a team that's weakness is his passing defense. 250 yards, and most of that came late. He was stifled for most of this game. I know he put 2 touchdowns on the board. Like, if you look at the stat line, you're like, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's good for a starting quarterback. But if you watched it, I mean, he was like 3 for 12 for most of this game. I mean, it took until the very end of the game for him to start to come on. You just need more. And it's not that he's a bad player, but he's not the guy that gets you consistent wins in the NFL, especially if this offensive line dissolves. Like, if they lose one offensive lineman, the Colts are done. Like, well, that is the strength of this team, is the offensive line.
All said and being done, they had the exact same record and the same issue at quarterback. The guy they have there is probably not the guy of the future.
And it's crazy. Both of these teams, it's like the reverse of the spectrum. On one hand, you have the guy who's way too aggressive. Yeah, he'll throw you 4 touchdowns, but he throws you 4 picks too. He'll throw 500 yards. On the other hand, you're like, I got the guy that throws me 180 yards. He'll get the touchdown. He probably won't make too many mistakes. And yet neither one of them seems to be good enough. I think both of these teams need to try to change things up at quarterback. I don't know that the Colts do. I think they might give him another year. Maybe they think we can build around him. I just don't know, man.
Will says, stop hating on Jameis Winston III. Mahomes would struggle behind this offensive line. Tell me I'm lying. Our
You're
secondary
lying.
had stepped up I can't talk.
Dramatically.
Thank you. Over the past 5 games. Listen.
Have you seen Patrick Mahomes' offensive line? They're not that bad, but they're not great either.
It's not about the pressure that's put on him. I will literally go through those that I didn't watch the game, so I'll need to go back and watch it. But what I've seen from him so far, regardless if there's pressure on him or not, he throws picks throughout the game. Will, you have to admit that. This is not hate. And trust me, I'll be the first one to admit that I didn't like Jameis Winston coming out of college. I said it for a very long time. I said the Tennessee Titans got the better end of the deal picking Marcus Mariota. Lo and behold, that's probably not the truth all said and done.
Well, he's won more games. He's won a playoff game. Even though, look, I'm the first guy to bash Mariota, but I think Mariota is still the better pick out of him because you put Winston with us.
My point is how far do you go into winning a championship with Jameis Winston? Not very far, man.
Nowhere.
3 picks, can't do it.
Dealing with 2 of the best receivers in football
and
great tight ends.
Look at your past quarterbacks that have won Super Bowls. Tom Brady, Nick Foles.
Good to see you, Sean.
Drew Brees. These guys are not continuously throwing 3 to 4 picks / turnovers per game. That is the issue with Jameis Winston. No one's denying his talent. No one's denying this guy can't put up numbers and win games. But you're not winning championships while he keeps doing this. He's got a great head coach. Bruce Arians is going to be the guy that can help him learn this. The question is does Bruce Arians want to keep pushing this agenda with him? Quit turning the ball over when it matters the most. Throw the ball away. Quit making stupid decisions. Take the issue with completion rating and go down instead of throwing turnovers. Man, this is huge for your team. Well, I'll give you this, Will. If he didn't create all these turnovers, and by the way, he's leading the league in interceptions, you're talking about a team that probably has 3 more wins.
Another point Will makes is he says the line will collapse. It collapses constantly. Look at Ryan Tannehill. The Titans have allowed the most sacks in the NFL right now. Do you see them failing to succeed with him? No, because he makes smart plays. When there are times he takes a sack or he throws the ball away, as opposed to just throwing a pick and hurting his team. Because almost nothing is worse than turning the ball over. Turnovers, ask any coach in the NFL, how do you win games? You win the takeaway battle.
Yeah.
When you do that, more often than not, you win. And I get you. The team is not elite around him, okay? The offensive line's not good. The running back I don't think Peyton Barber's an amazing player.
But you take those turnovers away,
but he's got
keep
receiving
his talent
weapons.
there. This team wins games. This team wins games while he's doing the turnovers.
Yeah.
He's leading the league in interceptions.
Again.
It's not hate, Will. It's just the truth. I'll give you, the offensive line's terrible. Fix it.
Now, Jacob says Kansas City has a really good defense. I'm not sure if he's trolling or not, but I'll say this. They showed up today.
He's a Chiefs fan, so he's not trolling.
Well, he's not trolling. All right. Well, Jacob, I disagree, but they have good moments. And that's one thing I like about the Chiefs is even though the defense is bad, they step up and make big plays, and that's enough when your offense is this good.
Well, I do not watch Titans games. Thank you very much.
I do
watch Chiefs games, and actually, to be honest with you, I watch probably more football than you do. I'm not trying to say I know more than you do. I understand what it means to have a line collapsing on you. Better quarterbacks throw the ball away. Winston does not. He turns the ball over. Plain and simple, man. Regardless if the line's collapsing, you don't turn the ball over. Look at Tom Brady. In this game they played against Kansas City, there was a lot of pressure on him. He threw 1 pick. That was it. Not 3. That's the difference, man. Plain and simple.
I agree with you. We'll move on to our next game. Let's talk about Denver going up to bat against the Houston Texans. This tickled my heart, Drew. As a Titans fan, this tickled my heart. Honestly, it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things because they play the Titans twice out of the last 3 weeks of the season. Literally, the entire division comes down to those matchups. If the Titans win twice, odds are Houston's done. If the Titans, if they split with them, it's probably going to be Houston going to the playoffs regardless, especially with the Indy loss today. Yeah. This loss doesn't hurt them too much. The only thing it does is kind of nullify the Titans game today and say, they didn't have to beat the Raiders. They did anyway, but they didn't have to beat the Raiders.
Can I go back to the old song?
You can.
This is the same thing that happens to Broncos every year is they find some success out of a quarterback and lean on it, and they're going to trust into it. Drew Lock looked great. I'll give you that. Brandon Allen looked great for a game or two.
He looked like what?
Great. Great for a game or two. They're not going to draft a quarterback. They might pass up on a greater quarterback than what they have on their roster. They're going to lean into these guys, probably again go out and get another veteran, and they're going to let someone who knows if it's, in my opinion, I like Jake Fromm out of the draft so far. I'm just saying they're going to let someone like that skip past them, and maybe Jake Fromm has a Hall of Fame career, and Drew Lock and Brandon Allen, whoever veteran comes up, doesn't. I think this is an issue for them. I really hope John Elway looks at the whole scheme when it all says and done. Don't get hyped up on one quarterback. Look at the whole picture of it, because the Broncos, that's a huge piece they're missing. There's a lot of offensive weapons, but quarterbacks first.
I actually think this could be the Colts if they play their cards right. Signing a guy like Mike Munchak, if he gets the offensive line fixed, if you're willing to invest in that again and you're able to coach up some of these young players you already have on this offensive line. They already have 2 running backs that I think are pretty decent. I think if you keep carrying the ball with Lindsey and Freeman, as long as they both stay healthy, you add a receiver or 2 and really buff up this defense. I'm not sure it matters who's under center. I think they can win games despite it. But again, when you're talking about winning championships, it's tough to win like that.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, we've seen some teams do it. We've seen Carolina do it. We've seen the Seahawks do it. Denver did it with Peyton Manning. But more often than not, it's the teams that are able to throw the ball that go deep into the playoffs. I think you're right. I think they're definitely passing up on a quarterback. And does that mean Drew Lock is the guy for Denver? They might think so, but the way he's playing, it's really tough to pull the trigger and say we need another quarterback in the first round, especially because you got Brandon Allen who played okay behind him.
Right. Jacob says that we get Chase Young for the Kansas City Chiefs. He won't go that far down, man.
No, he won't get past like pick 3.
Ray says the game for the Houston Texans was a fluke.
It would be a fluke if they didn't just do it to the Ravens a couple weeks ago, where they just like surrendered, and I think that's what happened. I don't want to criticize them too much because any kind of massive loss to the secondary, and I talked about this with the Titans, is really, really tough for teams to overcome. Look at the Eagles. Look at the Texans. Look at the Titans even. Look at what Oakland did to the Titans in the first half. Just throwing the ball. I mean, anytime you lose multiple cornerbacks for significant amount of time, it's tough for most teams to recover because most teams don't have 2 great cornerbacks. And these days you need 3.
Right.
So losing any of them is just terrible. Houston wasn't good in the secondary to begin with. Injury has set them back. And I think that kind of plays into their collapse here against Denver they just don't have a lot of talent in the back end. So if they give up a couple quick scores, it's tough for this offense to keep up because the offensive line still isn't great.
Yep, no doubt about it. Let's go to the next game. The LA Chargers against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
What kind of idiot picks the Jaguars going into this one? Oh, that's right, this kind of idiot.
Who would have thought the Chargers were going to put up 45 points?
Well, I was kind of worried they would be able to run the ball. Again, Jacksonville has allowed, 200 yards rushing in three of their past 3 games, which is amazing.
Points?
They had to take the rage out on somebody. I mean, this is supposed to be the year everyone's picking them to go to the Super Bowl, right? And now they got 5 wins because they're fool's gold. But
well,
hey,
I didn't say that. I said they get a playoff berth.
I didn't. I was like,
With a wild card.
That's okay. Look, I think when you look at it, Eckler had over 100 yards rushing. Melvin Gordon had 55 and a touchdown. They had almost 200 yards as a team on the ground. This is an offensive line that's not great, and they still beat up on Jacksonville. Jacksonville has a problem with the team quitting.
Yeah.
They have an attitude problem more than anything, and it's not the same as like Cleveland where it's like everyone's like salty in the locker room. They're just like, man, I'm done.
Michael said he had the Chargers by 7. Just a smidge off. Just a smidge.
Yeah, well, they beat that 7 line. Also, Gardner Minshew coming back in. He didn't look terrible. Again, the completion percentage was somewhere around 60%. He threw 160 yards, which, again, I think he's like 160 to 200-yard quarterback more than likely. 1 touchdown, but who knows? Maybe they bring in some weapons and we see him take a step forward. I'll say this about Gardner Minshew, though. He's definitely given them a better chance than Nick Foles. I can't imagine what the Nick Foles scoreline would have looked like. Nick Foles probably would have had 1 good drive, put the touchdown up, kind of like Jacksonville did, and that's it. So maybe it's exactly the same.
Sean, good to see you. Will says, how can you judge a quarterback off highlights and headlines that you never watched a full game?
Will, we watch compressed games like all the time. We watch just about every game in the NFL every year.
He says, I've watched every game this season. Does Winston make mistakes? Yeah. He's not perfect. But he has
clearly
no run game or O-line.
Yes.
He is getting sacked and hurried like every game.
Yes.
Will, so is every other.
So is Deshaun Watson. So is Ryan Tannehill.
Quarterbacks in this league.
The difference is those guys will take a sack, and you're like, man, that killed our drive. Instead, Winston will try to make too much happen, throw an interception, and then the team is losing. It's that simple. You cannot afford to do that. And we've had 5 years to tell this guy to stop doing it, Will, and it's not worked. You're in the Mariota mentality. So many Titans fans said, we've been with this guy. They make excuses. He's changing offensive coordinators. The moral of the story is it's been 5 years. He's not good enough. You deserve better. Period.
Yeah.
You deserve. Take it from me, the
honest,
battered Titans fan is now with a new quarterback.
To be honest, he's holding you guys back.
Yes.
I think your team's a lot more talented.
Brian wants to know who we're picking on Sunday.
Jameis Winston is playing for
Spoiler alert, I'm taking the Seahawks. I think he is too.
Yep, Seahawks.
But we'll talk about that game in depth. We almost always do it late. I know the game has started, but we're not watching it. We appreciate that. We're both taking the Seahawks, Brian. I think they're definitely the better team at this point, and they should maul that Rams offensive line. We'll go into that a little bit later.
I do want to make this very clear, Will. We appreciate it, man. We appreciate your banter with us. We appreciate everything you have to say.
And you're welcome to disagree. I just don't think this is the hill you want to die on.
I just want you to know it's not hate. The guy's talented. He just can't stop turning the ball over. Plain and simple.
But is he? Because we complain about the offensive line.
Yes. Hear me
out.
Hold on. You cannot throw 450 yards and 4 touchdowns minus the interceptions. You cannot do that unless you're talented. And he did it without his top receiver.
But when we say talented, when we say he's talented, okay, he's an NFL quarterback. So could he go out there and throw the pigskin better than we could? Yeah. Okay, but so can everyone in the NFL.
He probably throws it better than the next other 15 people underneath him.
My point is when you look at him versus his peers, when you look at him versus the other 32 quarterbacks out there in the NFL, even though he puts up the yards, he has amazing wide receiving weapons. You can't argue that. Is he better than Andy Dalton? Who, again, is getting the job done with Tyler Boyd and guys you've never heard of, and it changes every week, and they took John Ross, but he's not any good. And is he better than that? Is he better than... I ignore the stats. who gives you the better chance to win on the same team? Because I think if you put Andy Dalton out there and he's got Mike Evans, and I know he got hurt this week, don't even start with me on that, and you got Chris Godwin, and you got Cameron Brate, and you got O.J. Howard.
You're a playoff team.
Maybe not quite there, but I think you're a couple wins better.
I think you're a playoff team.
My point here is...
couple wins, you're fighting for a playoff spot. Like a true, legitimate playoff spot.
Maybe not in the NFC.
Dude,
again, you got to run down the Saints. You're not winning the division.
6-7.
Yeah.
So you're looking at, what, 8-5? Yeah, they're a playoff team.
Well, okay, so 2 wins. You're 8-7, or you're 8-6 right now, or whatever, 8-5. I don't know. I just don't see it. Again, you're talking about the Packers are 10-3. You're talking about the Saints 10-3.
I'm going off of what you just said. You said if Andy Dalton gives you a couple wins, they're 8-5.
You're in the race. You're in the race. It might take 10 wins to get in.
They're in
the
a race
NFC.
at 6-7.
In the race. Technically in the race, yes. Okay, Chris says the Colts lost that game with a lack of the run game and the defense giving up big games, so he doesn't think Tampa is a good team. But he says they do have a talented team, and to be honest, the Colts are done. No playoffs. He's hoping that the Chiefs win it all because Drew, and he says Tennessee and Houston. I understand where you're coming from because I said the same thing when he was playing this game. Look, Chris, it was a bad loss. They're not an untalented team. Todd Bowles has fixed this defensive front. They still need weapons on the back end. I know you're getting tired of me bashing Jacoby Brissett. This is a guy. See, Chris is the guy that takes criticism for his quarterback and doesn't get too upset about it.
Let's get into the Titans game versus the Oakland Raiders.
Okay, let's
get into it.
Let's do it.
Go ahead, man. The Titans go on the road. They put up big numbers offensively. They look good, but they did it against the Raiders. The team that you're like bashing anyone else that puts up points against them. Does your team make a statement by putting up?
I'm not going to go 42.
42 points against.
I'm not going to go off the rails
Raiders.
and be like, look out for the Titans. They're going to the Super Bowl. The Chiefs and the Packers, and everyone needs to watch out for them. I don't know why I picked those two teams, but I'm not going to say that because they won this game. But what I am going to say is they did a good job of playing well in the second half like they have done since pretty much Tannehill's come in, especially despite all their injuries. Again, down all the cornerbacks that they're down. They have Ty Smith, who's back from 2 weeks ago. They signed Tremaine Brock. Both of those guys saw significant playing time today and have been on the team for about 2 weeks. To win a game like this, when you're talking about having that many new players in the secondary, is still impressive. Kenny Vaccaro got hurt in this one. They're down to Kevin Byard and Logan Ryan in the secondary.
But we can also talk about what the Raiders are missing. They're missing Trent Brown. They're missing Josh Jacobs. They're missing Burfict still. They're missing Renfro.
Well, whose fault is that?
I mean, it doesn't matter regardless. I mean, they're missing people as well.
They are.
So
both of these teams were banged up, and I think the difference is that Tennessee is just a little bit farther along in development, and that's why they won the game in the second half.
Exactly. This is exactly what I'll take from this game. Is if one of these teams deserved to be in the playoffs, it's a team that won.
Yeah.
And it for sure was the Titans. No offense to the Raiders. I know I'm a Chiefs fan. I know everyone's gonna be like, I'm hating on them, but I'm not. They're not ready to be.
They're not there yet.
They're not ready to be in the playoffs.
And it's not fair for everyone to say that they should be.
They're another draft or two to be away from it. As far as the Titans go, if they're completely healthy, they're 100% their playoff team. But it's a next man up mentality. Mm-hmm. And if the Titans seemed up to par, which they did play very well today, they're a playoff team.
Scary thing going forward for the Titans is Derrick Henry had a hamstring injury in the second quarter of this game, and he managed to tough it out through the third quarter. They tried taking him out of the game, and he's like, no, we need this win, and stuck around in there, so that's important.
Brian's want to know why haven't the Titans relied on Derrick Henry more?
Well, he had a injury today, and because the offensive line isn't incredibly effective. I mean, the run blocking is okay, but if they were a team like the Bills that we want to run, or the Ravens where they want to run, or the Panthers where they're just focused on the run game, teams can take that away from him, and they have in the past. Derrick Henry is a guy that needs a little bit of space to get those legs churning because he doesn't have good acceleration. He has great top-end speed. When he gets going, he's one of the fastest players in the NFL, but it takes forever to get there.
His north to south is deadly.
Very, very. And he's definitely improved since he just, instead of trying to wait for the hole to open, has just started running. Right. But the Titans don't give it to Henry as much as a lot of people that aren't as big of Titans fans think they should because, number one, teams are still trying to stop the run in Tennessee. That's the way you beat them. You try to make them throw it. They're starting to change their minds now that Ryan Tannehill's there.
And you paid a lot of other offensive weapons to be there.
Well, drafted, but yeah. Well, and I guess they paid Adam Humphries.
And Delaney Walker. And Deion Lewis.
I mean,
yeah.
Deion Lewis, yeah, but he barely plays.
You paid these guys to be part of this offense, and you have to justify it. I mean, in a sense. I mean, you rely on.
Delaney hasn't played all year. He played in Cleveland, got punched in the face, even though that had nothing to do with it, and then has not played since then because he's still messed up.
My point is, I'm just saying, is you have other offensive weapons that you guys have brought into the locker room that you cannot just hand the ball off to Derrick Henry 35 times.
And now we got other guys, or we got the guy to distribute the ball to him. So you almost don't have to, even though this offensive line's trash, at pass blocking.
Sean wants to know, do we think the Browns will make the playoffs?
I hate to tell it to you, Sean. I don't think they do. You're talking about the Steelers now at 8-5. You're talking about the Titans at 7-6, 8-5. Where are the Titans at? I don't even know. They're my team. I think they're both at 8-5. It's a long shot. They need both of those teams to lose the last 3 games, and they need to win all 3 of theirs to have any hope in it, because the Titans have the tiebreaker against them. I think the Steelers and Browns play in one of those games. Do they play? I'm asking Ian here because I hope he's still watching.
To be honest with you, as far as the Browns go, they kind of dropped it last week when they didn't beat the Steelers. That was it.
Yeah,
I'd hate to say it's a negative for me, man. I don't think they're gonna have a chance of doing it. I get mathematically they're still involved, but they're not going to do it, man. They have to win every game out, and they have to have teams lose. And the teams you're talking about losing, which are the Steelers and the Titans, and they're all playing really well right now.
Yeah. Now, the Raiders did play well, especially without Josh Jacobs, who's been the engine of this offense pretty much all season long. They did a good job of doing...
Their team is 8-5.
Playing offense. They are 8-5. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. That's what I thought. Again, I said 7-6. I was like, that doesn't sound right. I know they were tied with the Steelers. But at the very least, when I look at this game, one of the more disappointing things about Derek Carr was the last play I saw him make, which it was 4th down. They were in there trying to score a touchdown. Realistically, the game was over. And instead of trying to force a throw and throwing into bad coverage, I would rather see him make a mistake here and take a chance at the play. Instead, he throws the ball away on 4th down and just says, game's over, let's go home, boys. Not crazy about that. You want to see the quarterback always like, hey, we're still in it, that kind of mentality, but I understand it. You're down 21 and there's like 6 minutes to go, 5 minutes to go. Sometimes you're just like, all right. I'm not throwing the pick and then everyone say, oh, Derek Carr threw, an interception on the last play or anything. So
I'll let you answer this and we'll move on to the last 2 games. Chris says, don't get me wrong, Brissett is missing easy passes, but he doesn't think that they're going to be able to get a good quarterback. Honestly, at this point, he's looking for them to reach out to Teddy Bridgewater or Cam Newton, but something tells me the Colts are feeling strongly about Brissett. But hopefully they don't get Mariota fog and ruin a talented bunch.
Amen. Again, you can't stay. Loyalty's great, but it's you can't be loyal in this game. You can't be romantic about it. You have to put the best foot forward, and this is why the Titans are in the playoff race the way they are. Because if they put the best foot forward and Tannehill had played from the beginning, we'd be talking about this team maybe arguing for a first-round bye as opposed to anything else. But I'm with you, Chris. They can't be romantic about Jacoby Brissett. I understand you're going to be a good enough team that you're not realistically drafting somebody unless you want to go give up a ton of picks, which does not sound like the Colts, right? They're the money ball. We'll just take as many players as we can, and we'll be a good team. But I think you've got options in free agency. If you're willing to open the wallet, you could sign someone like Andy Dalton. You could sign a Cam Newton. You could even sign a Teddy Bridgewater, which I think is the same player as Jacoby Brissett or very similar. I don't know that one is that much better than the other. It's just Teddy Bridgewater's playing on the Saints, and look at the Saints team. They're stacked. They're amazing. They're complete. You don't have that quite in Indianapolis. You need a couple more receiving weapons, or at least you need T.Y. Hilton to stay healthy and the offensive line to keep playing like this and the defense to get a little bit better.
All right, I gotta do this, and then we'll move on. Will says he's gonna say this right now. The Bucs are gonna finish 9-7 and end on a 6-game winning streak, 7 of the last 8. Silence the haters. Go Bucs. Fire them cannons. I hope so, man. I hope so.
We're not rooting against your team.
I just hope that he fixes his turnovers.
And again, the Buccaneers are my favorite NFC team. But you have to be realistic. Are we going to win a Super Bowl with Jameis Winston? Unless we put together a Saints-level roster, the answer is no. Here's the more realistic thing. Can we expect this front office to put together a Saints-level level team? No.
I love Bruce Arians. I love what he's doing with the defense. If he can fix the quarterback...
that would be Todd Bowles in the defense, but yes.
It doesn't matter. It's Bruce Arians as the head coach. I love what he's doing
with
the defense.
And Todd Bowles is the defensive coordinator, and he's calling the defense because Arians is an offensive guy. Yeah, but yes.
Bruce Arians, if he can fix a quarterback that is fixable, he's the guy to do it. I hope so. Let's move on to the next game. Kansas City Chiefs go up into New England and win an ugly but decisive win for Kansas City.
Well, I'm gonna do to you what you just did to me. It's just that impressive, Drew.
Yes!
Because the Patriots, even though their record's good, What would we
It's the
complain?
Patriots.
Let me finish. What have we complained about all year? They haven't played anybody. They've played no good teams, and you only beat them by 7. Is this that
Yes,
impressive?
It is. It is 100% impressive.
Somehow I knew you were going to say that. But that's okay. I'm
I'll
with
give you
you.
this. I'll give you this. To be honest,
More impressive than Oakland. I'll give you that. Sorry, Oakland fans, but the Patriots are still better than both your and my team. I hate it as much as you do.
It's bad officiating. I mean, plain and simple, it's bad officiating. But it doesn't matter. A W's a W. Kansas City won it.
Bad officiating for who?
The Patriots.
Clarify.
The Patriots. The Patriots should have been winning that game.
So it's in Kansas City's favor is what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And to be honest, you wish you had 4 challenges. But you don't. You only got 2. You got to make a decision. Belichick threw him early. And that's what happens with it. And it's just part of the game. I have been on this bandwagon forever. I will not complain about officiating. This is just what it is. And the Chiefs won. I mean, are they deserving of it? Yeah, they won. But if it was the other way around, the Patriots should have won that game.
Brian says, how are the 49ers not my favorite NFC team? I like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because they won the Super Bowl right around the time I was starting to get into football. Again, I was like 9 or 10 years old. Just to give you a peek behind the curtain and let you know that I'm younger than most people think. But if you're asking how are the 49ers my favorite to win the Super Bowl, I think they're definitely up there. I'm not saying the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to win it. I'm saying they're my favorite from the standpoint of they've been the team that I've liked and rooted for pretty much since they went with John Gruden all the way back in 1998, 2001? I don't remember. Time is a blur to me. Honestly, I don't remember what year it was. But I'll say this. If you're talking about who's better, yeah, the 49ers are better. I'm not saying Tampa Bay is going to win everything and I pick them over everybody in the NFC. I'm saying they're my favorite from the standpoint of I've rooted for them for the longest.
Freddie, good to see you. He says Denver did good.
He said hi to me. Freddie, good to see you, man.
Denver did good today. Ray says Patriots got what they deserved.
Freddie, who knew that the Broncos had that in them? Because I definitely was not expecting this scoreline.
Ray, who knew the Patriots didn't pay the refs off this game?
Whew, that check must have bounced. I mean, maybe they shifted that money instead from the refs to the people working at the airport that shipped the Chiefs stuff all the way to Newark instead.
What a mishap. What a mess up.
Magically against the Patriots.
But
I'm just gonna
it got their own time.
Tinfoil hat off. Let's go back to talking about the game. I think Kansas City played well. I don't think it was the best we've seen out of Kansas City, but I think they played pretty well. Were you worried early when the Patriots kind of took that lead? Because we were watching it together. We were like, oh, here it comes.
Yes and no.
No, you totally were, and that's why I asked it, because I knew the answer to my own question.
It's not that I was worried. It's like, this is typical. This is a typical outing. And you know what? The only reason I like the fact that Kansas City won is the fact it takes New England that much further out of the 1 seed. That's all that matters to me.
It would only be nice if there was a team able to take this 2nd seed away from them so they wouldn't get a first-round bye, because they're still going on bye. They're still playing a lot of them. And if the Ravens... Well, Baltimore's going to get the 1st seed.
That's what I'm saying. If those two go, they have to go into
Well,
Baltimore.
here's the problem.
Play.
Baltimore might choke. Someone might come up with that Anthony Lynn
Don't
style.
Don't say that.
I know, and then the Patriots get home field advantage all the way through anyway. So, again, we'll see what happens. I don't know. At the very least, great win for them. The Patriots still don't look right to me. 16 points against this Chiefs defense. This is supposed to be 40-38 you lose to the Chiefs. Not, 20, what was it, 23, 24 to, I didn't even write it down, to 16. It was by 7 points.
Yeah, 16, yeah.
So, again, I look at this game and I'm like, oh, Patriots, do we have something to worry about?
No. I mean, the Patriots are still a good team. To beat
10-3, they're all right.
To beat a team like this is, regardless of how you guys want to put it, I'm sure the Patriots are going out there saying, we got cheated. It was a touchdown. He wasn't out of bounds. Blah, blah, blah. It's what it is. It's what it is. You got called face mask when Breland Speaks was like this far away from Tom Brady. To be honest, it's just what happens in the NFL. It's what makes it so much fun to watch, because you never know when those plays
always drama.
Will go towards your team or against it.
Brian says Gruden won in Tampa Bay in 2001. See, I said 2001. It was my second pick, but I said 2001.
It was 2002.
In the Super Bowl, but it was like the 2001 season, if I remember right. And he says, after leaving Oakland the previous year on the only head coaching trade ever.
It was not. It was 2002 season.
I don't know. It doesn't matter. Again, time's a blur to me. It's all. I still think it's like 2008. So whatever. Doesn't matter.
2001, the
And
Patriots
Freddie
won in 2003. I think
says he got
6-1.
first place in doubles in bowling in the Special Olympics in Northern Kentucky. Congratulations, man. We're absolutely proud of you. Good job on your win. And hey, good shout. And he did say 2002. Sorry, he said
Freddie,
my bad. 2002.
I got second. I got second place. You just didn't know that was me.
All right. Sean says everyone's well. Hello to you too,
You
Sean.
were
We
my
appreciate
double
that.
team. You don't remember going up to Kentucky and winning second place?
I do not actually. Just like I don't remember what year. Time's a haze to me. That's okay. We'll move on to our last game, Pittsburgh versus Arizona, and then we'll go into our predictions for Sunday and Monday night. Let's talk about Arizona and Pittsburgh because in this game, it was all Pittsburgh, and then Arizona caught up, and then it was all Pittsburgh, and then Arizona couldn't catch up. So again, this is a game that if you're a playoff team, you got to win it. Are they the team that outlasts? Can they survive the Bills? Can they survive the Ravens and keep teams like the Titans and keep teams like the Raiders from taking that spot away from them?
So far, yes.
Yeah, I'm asking, does it continue with this schedule? Because they've got it tough. Titans do too, but they've got it tough.
I'm not. The answer's no, but
it's been no, and they keep winning games.
exactly.
Yeah.
But not that they bullied this team because the Cardinals kept around, but they bullied that offensive team. They bullied Kyler Murray. They bullied that team with that defense. It was kind of not. I don't even want to give it garbage points. It was just. Cardinals are a good enough team to kind of stick around, and they might be good in a few years.
They're Detroit.
Where Kyler Murray gets a couple years underneath them, and they build a team around him, and they build an offensive line. This could be a scary team. They're a talented bunch, but they got bullied today.
Yeah.
It's just the offensive side of the ball, the Steelers, is just nothing scary. There's nothing scary about this Steelers team besides the defense. It's kind of like the Bills. We talk about.
They'll keep you in check for a while, and then eventually the good teams will beat them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. Jacob says, not to get off topic, but who do we see winning in Ohio State versus Clemson? If you didn't watch the rankings, Ohio State dropped down to 2, and they absolutely should. I'm going to go on the college football spiel while you take a second. The Ohio State Buckeyes should never have been number 1 on anyone's ranking when you talk about LSU beating 4 top 10 teams this season and Ohio State beating 0. Even though they played well, they should have been number 2 from the get-go. Now that they're number 2 and have to face Clemson as their first round in the playoffs, I think they are going to maul Clemson because I think Ohio State and LSU are far and away the best teams in college football. Clemson has struggled with a lot of ACC opponents, which has been incredibly bad this year. Teams like UNC hung around with them. Even though all this stuff's coming out, and I'm not going to say Clemson's dead in the water, because this is definitely, if someone's going to upset, it's going to be Clemson before it's Oklahoma. But I think Ohio State's been like firing on all cylinders from literally day one, and that never happens with Ohio State. This might be the best iteration of Ohio State we've seen in the past 10 years. In this game, plenty of things have time to change because they're not going to play this game for a month. But right now, I think Ohio State has got to be the heavy favorite against Clemson, and then LSU has to be the heavy favorite against Oklahoma. I think those two are going to match up, and I can't wait to see it because I think this is the game college football fans have been looking forward to. They're the two heavyweights, Ohio State and LSU. I know Clemson's undefeated, but I don't care. I just don't care. I mean, you beat Texas A&M. Congratulations. You beat UNC and survived them. Congratulations. You bullied a bad conference. Even though I just don't want to live in the past for Clemson. They're a good team. They're still undefeated, everything else. But they lost a lot of talent to the draft last year. Not everyone could be Alabama, and where you just constantly replace players. And when you struggle against those type of opponents and you go play Ohio State that's literally mauled everyone they've come up against, I got to go Ohio State. Points to it.
Chris, this honestly, Kansas City should have won that game better. Team, win the game. A better team, New England, the offensive has no identity. He says, and yes, he knows Kansas City won it, but that was expected. I don't know if it's expected, man. I honestly don't. I know that me and you both picked Kansas City to win that game, but how do you pick against Tom Brady and Belichick? How do you
at home that have owned Andy Reid?
They're like 7-2.
Yeah,
including postseason.
Yeah, I understand.
I think was the stat line they put up there. No, it wasn't expected. Should they have won a little bit better because there's no offense No, they're facing the number
Perhaps.
one. They're facing the number one defense in the league.
But come on, what you talk about Patrick Mahomes? You told me you're like, this is probably the best quarterback in the NFL right now. This might be the best offense in the NFL right now. I would have liked to see more than 23 points. Again, maybe I would have felt better about this Chiefs win if it was 38 to 20 or 38 to 36.
Let me rephrase what I said. I said Patrick Mahomes is probably the best quarterback, but I did not say this was the best offense.
Well, I'm saying it's the best offense.
Okay,
I added that part because I believe it. But my point here is, it doesn't seem to matter that what kind of shape the Patriots in. They always keep games close. So that's the only excuse I'm going to sign for them. That when like teams like Buffalo win close games, I'm like, I don't know that I believe in that. But it's the Patriots. Like when you beat the Patriots at all, you take that to the bank and you're like, it doesn't matter. A win's a win. A lot of other weeks you can look at it and say maybe they should have won a little bit better. Maybe they should have performed a little bit better. This one, I'm saying Chiefs won. That's all that matters to me.
Frey says, where did we get our football cans from? Walmart a few years ago, man. They did a 34-pack, and it's the first time I ever bought a pack of beer and did not drink more than 2 of those beers.
The self-restraint it takes.
Took a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about our Sunday night game here. We'll talk about Seahawks and the Rams if you're ready.
Well, we already picked the winners. We're both picking the Seahawks. Is there anything to talk about as far as this game goes beyond the fact that we think the Seahawks
Here's the
win
chance. Here's the chance. The 49ers did a great job beating the Saints here. If you're going to keep pace with them, they play again towards the end of the year. Win this one. This is a tough divisional matchup. Obviously, everyone knows the Rams still have offensive players, but their offensive line is in shambles, and I think the team has struggled because of it. I think the Seahawks win this one, but they need it. They need to win this game. Both of these teams need this win because the Seahawks, if they lose, they're talking about a wild card and playing entirely on the road in the offseason unless
disgusting, dude.
Sorry,
Jesus,
I don't know where that came from. Unless the Seahawks get the 5th seed and somehow the 6th seed hangs with them. I just don't see it happening. I think the Seahawks have got to win it, and we're off. And we're back. Perhaps. Okay. F5 and see if it restarted.
It's kind of like going on there. I think we got it. Maybe
could be. Bit. Sorry about that. We had a hiccup.
All right, guys. Well, both playing the Seahawks. The Seahawks need this opportunity to keep up with the 49ers. That's what you're getting at. It's important. We need to keep it. I know we got a little bit of technical difficulty. Thank you for sticking out with us. Both playing the Seahawks. Do the Rams at all have a chance to win this game?
Yes.
What is it the Rams have to do to beat
Protect Jared Goff, for the love of God, because even the Seahawks are not the best pass rush in the NFL. You got to keep guys like Jadeveon Clowney out of the backfield.
Right.
If they protect Jared Goff, that we're in for a shootout. If they don't, Russell Wilson's going to play good enough football, conservative enough football where they're not turning the ball over and he's doing enough offensively that's going to be the difference. Again, can they protect Jared Goff to put up enough points to beat the Seahawks? My gut says no. And I think the Seahawks are going to run all over this team. They're going to throw when they need to. I'm going to go Seahawks here. I think the Seahawks win. It's not going to be a blowout, but the Seahawks don't need to blow teams out. They're a team that hangs around and just I believe in this squad playing conservative football more than I believe in someone like the Bills doing it.
Well, Brian says the Saints and the Seahawks are better offensively than the Chiefs are.
Wait, what? The Saints or Seahawks?
He said the Saints or the Seahawks are better offensively.
The Seahawks are not. They might beat the Chiefs because they run the ball so well, and the Chiefs struggle against that. They might match up well against that, but if you're going pound for pound, the Seahawks are not as dynamic of an offense as the Chiefs are. The Chiefs still have Tyreek Hill. They still have Travis Kelce. They're a team that can, over the top, can just beat you on any single play. The Seahawks don't have that. I know they drafted DK Metcalf, and he's done okay as a rookie, but he's still not a household name. He's not the guy that you're going to go into next year and say, oh, well, I know that this guy can be one of the top 10 receivers in the league. Both of those guys could be top 10 at their position. The Seahawks rely on decent defense. They rely on not making mistakes. They rely on ball control, and they rely on solid football. The Chiefs instead play that explosive side of offense. So I'm going to say I definitely give it to the Chiefs there. As for the Saints, coin toss. Coin toss, because both of those teams play well on offense. It's one of those matchups that you'd like to see. Even though I like the Saints defense more than I like the Chiefs defense, the Chiefs can make some plays, and if they do that, they could beat them too. I just don't think it's fair to say the Seahawks are a better offense than the Chiefs when you're watching Mahomes throw for like 350 yards every week and Russell Wilson's throwing for like 180. Even though it's a great 180, right?
Yeah.
Like 180 for him is different than 180 for Brissett because he only throws because when he needs to, as opposed to they need Brissett to throw more and it doesn't happen. And I'm picking on Brissett. There's a lot of quarterbacks like that.
Monday Night Football. New York Giants go on the road to Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles have to win this game. The Cowboys are slipping up. They're giving the chance for the Eagles. They're going to face next week, but the Eagles, if they slip this game up and lose to the Giants...
They just lost to the Dolphins, so how do I pick them to win here? I'm going to do it anyway. I got to do it. Again, how many chances are the Cowboys going to give them to crawl back into this? How many chances are the Eagles going to fail to take to crawl back into it? I don't know, man. Both these teams should be playing a lot better than they are.
I want to pick against you, but I can't. I just can't. The Eagles are a better team.
You have your chance.
No.
You have Saquon.
No. The Eagles are a better team regardless of all the woes and worries that they have. They're just a better team. The Giants are not there. I know Eli Mann's coming back. I know
this should be hilarious, yeah.
I know that Daniel Jones has an ankle injury and that everyone's kind of like, is Eli's chance to like make it for another team? Makes no difference. Eagles win this game.
You know what the best thing will be? Eli Manning will go light this team up because their secondary's terrible, and everyone will be like, Eli's the best quarterback in Giants history. Bring him back.
And then the Titans sign him.
Oh, my God. No. If the Titans sign him, I'm done. I'll turn in my jersey. That's it. I'll turn it in. I'm going to hand it off. I'm going to be like, thank you, everybody.
Are you going to become a Niners fan or what?
Apparently, but I don't know. Honestly, I don't know where I go from here. I might be like basketball where I don't root for anyone. I just watch. Just no emotion in it at all. Just watching the game.
You'll be a referee, and you'll be that one ref that gets shot after a game for a bad call.
Or I'll be the guy that the Patriots put a lot of money in his bank account. So that's our picks. Again, great Sunday. A lot of these games stay close. A lot of surprises. Teams like Denver coming up out of nowhere.
Great week of football.
It was all the way across the board.
I know our teams won, but beyond that,
I mean that helped. That capped off the week. But even beyond that,
the cherry on the top. There was still all that whipped cream that made it good.
And Ray says Rams up 14-3. But I'll say this, Ray.
I still believe in my Seahawks.
I still believe in it too.
I said my Seahawks, like they're my team. I still believe in Seahawks.
We'll see what happens. It'll be interesting to see. But division games always get rough. It's been a great show. We've got some special thanks here, and then we'll do some final thoughts. Drew, we got a lot of thanks here.
My final thought is I hope that's Cooper Kupp scoring those 2 touchdowns because I need him to. Guys, what a great show. Thank you all again for all the likes, comments, shares. It means the world to us. I do want to reach out to everyone that commented, and if I missed you, I'm sorry. But Jamar, Michael, Eddie, Austin, Kenneth, Nathan, Sean, Ian, Jeremy, Cherie, Ray, Will, Andrew, Ray, Ryan, Scott, Terry, Eric, Brian, Damian, Tyler, Austin, Frank, Sonny, Chuck, Steve, Jacob, Sean, Chris, Freddie. Whew! You guys are all awesome. I hope the next time I get to do that, it's a whole page of names.
Thank you guys so much for having beers with us and just chilling, talking about the NFL. It was a good time. You know what? It was a great time. I had a great time talking about this. Fantastic show, fantastic comments. You guys are still the best sports talk community out there. Period.
Hands down.
Period.
Hands
So
down.
thank you for sticking with us. We will be back on what is today? We'll be back on Tuesday to talk about anything you want to talk about. So if there's some burning question that is eating your sports soul alive and you want to talk about it, whether it's basketball, whether it's curling, we'll talk about it. Tuesday's the day for that, as well as everything else going on.
Baseball, man. I know that's what you want to talk about. Tuesday nights for it. Guys, we'll talk about everything you want to talk about. If it's fantasy playoffs, if it's baseball, if it's women's softball, I'm all about that, by the way.
If you want to talk about college women's softball power rankings, Tuesday's the day to do it, because we'll talk about it.
Or we just talk about their butts.
We can.
Pretty indefinite, like detailed.
You could have said volleyball, because again, you get better talent in volleyball. But that's okay. We'll talk about the best butts in sports on Tuesday, as long as you want to join us. 7:45 Eastern, 6:45 Central. As always, guys, I am Jake, your bartender. This is Drew. Your final thoughts, because you were going to say something. I'm not cutting you off, and then we'll get out of here.
No, that's just.
We'll see you Tuesday, guys.
You said but, and I was like, well, you got a point.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see you Tuesday, guys. Have a good weekend, or good rest of your weekend. Have a good start to your work week. We'll see you on Tuesday.
See ya.